So I'm Todd Huber. I'm the founder and the curator here at the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. People always want to know roughly where we're located. And just in a nutshell, I always say we're kind of between LA and Santa Barbara, about halfway. A little bit off the beaten path. You got to take a little bit, come off the 101 a little bit to make it here, which is good and bad. But I like it. I grew up here. That's why it's here. This is a former Urban Outfitters space, and we're at the Simi Valley Town Center, which is a local shopping mall. And I like to tell people we recycle the Urban Outfitters, and that's only in the nicest way.
Sure.
But if they're not going to be here and they set it up so beautiful, it was awesome for us to be able to walk in and use all the finishes that they put.
Yeah.
Reuse it. I truly do feel like we recycled it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. And so we are a nonprofit organization since 2012. We've been a museum since 1997. We've been in this location since 2018, so we're just coming up on our 5th anniversary here at the end of this year. Do you want me to keep talking?
Sure. How about the museum? So I guess, so we've got the museum, you said, what
we opened in 1997.
1997, and then the Skateboarding Hall of Fame that has all of the inductees.
Yeah, so that didn't come until 2009.
And that's been kind of part of your kind of organization all along, or did you merge later?
No. So I always, when I started the museum, it always, I heard that one of the best skaters of my childhood, Bruce Logan, was down and out, like struggling and not doing good. And he was like, when I was a kid, he was like the rock star, like the Tony Hawk from my age. And I heard he was homeless. That's what I heard. And I was like, how is Bruce Logan homeless? Like, why aren't people like, lifting him up or whatever?
Sure,
and then I went to Florida. My friend lived in Jacksonville, and I had to drive from Orlando to Jacksonville. And in that drive off the freeway, I saw a giant warehouse that said, the Water Ski Hall of Fame.
Okay,
and I remember just going, almost being angry, like, how come they have a
Yeah, why do they have one? And
and I'd already had my other spot open. The museum was already open, and that was in 97, the museum opened. This was like in 2000. And I was like, man, I'm going to start the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. No one's done it. They have one for water ski. If they do it, we can do it. So that's when I, at the time, like registered the trademark and the domains and all that stuff. And then just sat on it. And then it wasn't until 9 years later in 2009 when the industry had an organization called IASK, and International Association of Skateboard Companies. And they came to me and said, could we start the Hall of Fame as a fundraiser for our organization? And that's kind of how it started, because I had this dream to do it, but I was just a guy and I just didn't really have the resources. And I thought if I could partner with this industry trade organization, then maybe this is a great way to get it started. And that's how it started in 2009. The first ceremony was inside the Vans skate park, which is in Orange, California. And that was 2009. And so we've done it, 13 times since then. Wow. There was 1 year we didn't have it, 2011.
How many inductees do you do each year?
It varies. So the very first year, it was only 4. And it's on that big banner back there. It has all the way from the beginning to end. But the first 4 were Bruce Logan, Tony Alva, Tony Hawk, and Danny Way.
Nice.
And then after that first year, somebody said, "Where are all the ladies? Like, what's going on?" Like, I took a lot of, I hadn't really thought through the whole process of honoring these people, and they were right. They were right. So in the second year, we inducted the first woman, who was Patty McGee. Actually, that's her cutout right there. She was on the cover of Life magazine, really famous photo, 1965. And so then it went up from 4 to 6, because there was, and it just kept growing, and then it's sort of changed. There isn't a set number. So for example, for 2020, we weren't able to have it because of COVID. So for 2021, it was like 34. It was a giant number because we did 2 years at once. But throughout the years, it's 166, I believe.
Wow, that is a long list.
It's a long list, and
so it's from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, like, or is there like a? That's
how it
by decade, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, by decade.
Nice.
And there's also a group called Icons, and they're not necessarily skaters. They're photographers, musicians, artists.
Like Grant Britton.
Yeah, Grant Britton, exactly. Glenn Friedman, Devo, just some people that really were part of the whole skateboarding culture that weren't necessarily like on the cover of the skateboard mags.
Kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah. And with that, even the manufacturers like Powell Peralta or Santa Cruz, which is NHS, Van Shoes. There's tracker trucks. There's manufacturers. And just people that weren't necessarily like standout skaters.
Awesome.
As well.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good list. Every year somebody's mad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because there's too many great people.
Too many, yeah.
And I don't know what the best phrase to use, but like it's almost like watch what you wish for, because it was really, really hard for me as a guy that was just trying to really show love for people. It's hard to like argue with people or hear people complain.
Yeah.
And I think I've done a pretty good job at sort of, I don't know if the word's mitigating it, but just dealing with it and just being honest.
Trying to be fair and balanced,
Yeah, and then talking to people, not hiding from people. I think part of it is that it's just called the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. It's not like Toyota's Skateboarding Hall of Fame or whatever it is. It's just Skateboarding Hall of Fame. And I think that's important to the skaters. They don't, you know what I mean? Like, even though Vans has been really good supporter every year, some of the skaters in the Hall of Fame aren't Vans people.
Right.
So it's just got to be this, under my idea, it's just got to be the Skateboarding Hall of Fame, and also in the hands of those in the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. Like, they should be able to talk to you about it or complain about it or suggest or help, whatever it is, you know?
I'm sure each era, so I was born in '74.
Oh yeah, just a baby.
Yeah. So, but for me, it's all about, I see the Tony Hawk and Lester Kasai.
Yeah,
and,
the 80s, right?
That Psycho Stick. And like, to me, that's like my legends or my icons. But then you see all these older decks here, and it's like, man, there was a lot that happened way before I ever became aware.
Sometimes hard to think of that. And most people that come in are like you, go straight for the back to the neon. But there are those folks that are older and like usually like in their 70s that can appreciate, or they always say, where are the boards that are made out of roller skates? Like, where are the first ones that are made out of roller skates? And they don't think I'm going to have one, right? And that whole first
you have
wall,
a whole wall.
You have like 100 of them.
Wow.
Like, more than anybody.
Yeah.
And it's so fun for me to go, oh yeah, you don't think I have one? Let me show you. And that's been one of my cool things.
Yeah.
That and the scooters, and that's kind of what this wall is. It's just an evolution of the skateboard, ending in the 80s, like you were saying with the Tony Hawks. And most people come in, they go straight to either the Hosoi, the white with the pink, or the black Tony Hawk, or the Lester. I mean, any of those.
Yeah.
They're all memorable.
To me, it's Tony Hawk and all those for sure, but I skated mostly in the late 90s, so I see the Ray Barbie there. Like, he was our icon, in the late 80s. Matt Hensley, I don't know if you have him up there.
The Hensley is, it's just next to the Ray Barbie, actually, on the left. It's an H Street Hensley.
Okay, I see it now with the yellow. Yeah, I had the one with him, like the street swinger or whatever.
I have that. I have one of those in the back that's his, that he actually loaned to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that's the only one I have. Those are the only two I have. And again, the way this wall kind of is, like, it was an evolution, and a lot of people don't know it started with skateboards. And then it went to what they call the sidewalk surfboards, and a lot of them related to surfing. You can just see a lot of them even say it right on it, sidewalk surfboards, or I see right in the middle of the ring. They're all surf related. And the thing that I like to point out to people is on those, there's no kicktails and there's no grip tape, and the wheels are all either metal or clay. And so it took a long time, for boards to get rideable, and that's when it started, like 1973. Kind of, you can see they started getting a little better. Still don't see much grip tape though.
Well, maybe a few of them have like a couple strips, but not a full. Yeah,
or a lot of them have texture, like on the board. They're rough on top, and but they all have urethane wheels, and that was the game changer. 1973, Frank Nasworthy invented the urethane wheel, and it was called the Cadillac wheel, and that made it so that you could skate and you weren't guaranteed to crash. On those boards, you're guaranteed to crash.
Yeah, hit one tiny pebble.
Or not even that, they would just slip out from underneath you because there's no grip. But the pebbles, especially. And people tell stories. A lot of people's first board is that Black Knight. It's in the middle, the second row up, with the guy riding the horse. People come in, they're like, where's the Black Knight?
Yeah.
Those wheels are clay. And they would get so hot that after a while they would just push
just explode.
While you're riding, you have no say in the matter. You're on the ground. So
I have a question.
Sure.
So growing up in the Midwest, I spent a little bit of time in Virginia, so Mountain Trashmore, you know, famous for all that. But most of my life I've been in the Midwest. And so you always hear the stories that the skateboarding started when the surf was flat and the surfers were looking for, and then I had read that like the TV show Gidget with Sally Field started like a surf craze in the 80s. And then the people who wanted to be a part of that but who didn't have waves, that kind of helped like generate interest in skating. Does that seem plausible, or does that seem like a you know,
I think the
myth?
story, it's funny you should say that, because I think the story, that is one story. I'm sure that when there was no surf, surfers skated, right? But that doesn't mean that they invented skating.
Sure.
I always think, this is no one can prove me wrong, no one knows the story. There's nobody knows who was first. But so, and then I'll tell you why I think my version is correct, or what I believe.
I imagine,
you know, it's like my own religion, right? So we're in the valley. Malibu is, if you could fly straight to the beach, it's like 20 miles.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. So again, 80s kid thrashing, and the daggers, they're like, oh, he's from the valley. Is he making fun of the people in this? Well, not making fun, but like...
No. So I shouldn't have said that. There's a few valleys. Okay. But the valley that they're talking about is one hill over. It's the San Fernando Valley. Okay. It's LA County. We're actually in Ventura County. Okay. So we're our own valley. It's called Simi Valley. Okay. And we're one city in this little valley. But when you go over the hill, it's like Chatsworth, Canoga Park, Woodland Hills, Sherman Oaks, North Hollywood, that's the valley. That's what they're talking about. Gotcha. And they would hate when they would come to surf, or go to Venice.
This is our turf.
Stay back in the valley. And so even though this isn't, even though I didn't grow up at the beach. I'm in Simi Valley. I'm away from the beach. So we always skated because we couldn't even go to the beach. Right. So I feel like, okay, maybe skateboarding started because we just dreamed we could surf. Didn't even matter if there was waves. We couldn't go no matter what the wave.
That's where you were in the Midwest, right?
And then to make it even more sort of like believable, and this is a fact, the first shop in the world where you could buy a skateboard was Val Surf in the valley. And they were made by Hobie, and they were Val Surf, sold them, and he went and bought the trucks and wheels from the roller skate company in Chicago. And they were handmade, they were beautiful boards. And so I always say skateboarding didn't start at the edge of the beach where surfers were disappointed there was no surf.
It was the kids who were disappointed they couldn't surf.
Or where you were from. Or where you were from in the Midwest when there was no surf. Sure, You just wanted to surf. So that's kind of what I would like to say. And it's fun to argue the point because no one can say. There's guys... Oh, I was at the Redondo Pier in 1952. And there's a good friend of mine, Jim Fitzpatrick, who's in the Hall of Fame. He'll argue. I don't know what year it is, but it's way earlier than I've ever heard before. And I believe him. I believe him. You know?
No reason to lie.
Somebody sent me a picture of the John Muir. I guess there's a John Muir trail about this explorer, John Muir. And somewhere along that trail, at the beginning or the end, there's a museum of artifacts from his journey or whatever. And in the museum, there's what looks like an ironing board with skateboard trucks and wheels on it. And it's dated like 18 or whatever. It's really old. And somebody sent it to me saying, dude, I think I found the very first skateboard ever. So who knows, right? Who knows?
Well, if you ever need to take a break and chat with anyone.
If you need me, just let me know. Okay, thank you. I don't want to leave you hanging.
I don't want you to feel like you can't interact with people.
No worries. I appreciate it. I don't know. It's the story. That's kind of what I like about collecting skateboards too. I guess the reason I like this collection is, and I've collected. These are all my boards. Is because never knowing who started it or where it started. There's nobody that can ever get every skateboard. Sure. Like if you're a Hot Wheels collector, there's a book.
Yeah, there's the first run.
Variation, even the variations, or this was one of a kind. There's a book that tells you every Hot Wheel and values. But since the skateboarding started as homemade, there's no way to have them all.
Yeah, all the folk art.
There's no way. There's no way. And like it's such a. I don't know if the word, if the saying's like it's like a rabbit hole, because when you set out to collect like lunch pails or whatever it is, there's an end to it. You can see.
This one is a little more open. And
good and bad, I guess.
So the wooden scooters over here.
Yeah.
Again, like, so I know the 80s stuff, but right, you watch movies like Back to the Future when he like yanks the scooter off, and because he was, you know, an 80s skater and whatever, and like, I guess, is there any truth to that? Like the scooters were before skateboards?
Yes, there's a picture from the 1930s.
Oh, wow.
Of kids in New York City on the scooters. And there's another picture of them, like, it was a race, like around the, from what I'm told, it was like a race around the block, and the policeman was like the official. He started it and like had the flag. And there's a picture somewhere right here of the actual race.
Wow. Yeah.
And I guess it was like an orphanage or something in New York City.
A couple kids with roller
because it
skates.
says Children's and Society something center. Like it was like a place where the kids, I think, lived in New York City.
You could see that as plausible. I mean, these are pretty rickety. Like maybe the box came off and the kid needs to get home, so he just kind of rides on it without the box.
It's what happened, and they try to jokingly tell that story in the Back to the Future.
Yeah.
That's why I have a mix of both here, because there's some boards that have like this, like a fence board. Oh yeah. But here's a board made out of a fence board. So like maybe this had a handle on it or whatever, you know, and they just use nails. And I also
they like smashed them over.
Yeah,
I mean,
otherwise it would go all the way through.
A 9-year-old made it. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
My favorite thing is the homemade nature, and I like how like this one they didn't even cut the skate.
Oh yeah, they just put the whole skate on. Yeah.
And this one they put their foot in paint, their feet, and stepped on it for graphics. I like people put their name on them. A lot of times I'll post online, "Hey Bob Keller, we found your board. Send us a direct message and we'll get it back to you."
Oh wow!
And no one's ever done it before.
Bob Keller, he
might be gone or whatever. But as a collector, and I've been collecting now for 34 years, when I go to look for boards at the swap meet or wherever I was, all my rivals, because I'd bump into a guy, "Hey, what's up? Did you get anything today?" You know, I had a few rivals.
Sure, yeah.
They never bought these. They never bought these. And then eventually,
and now they all want them. And
no, even different. Now I've come to find out they all had one or two over the years. Once they saw that I was buying them, and then they've changed their focus, and I ended up with them. They're all here now. Yeah, for the most part. There are a couple of guys I used to go against.
Is there a holy grail that you wish, like every time you go to the swap meet, you're like, man,
There is. I mean, there's a few of them, but the one I like. When I first started collecting, I didn't really get into the 60s until I met a guy that was really into the 60s. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to let this guy get the board. So it drove my competition. But there's one board from that era that was actually from Virginia, and it was Norfolk, Virginia. It's called the Surf Skate, which I have, but they made a special one that had the Beatles on it. It had all 4 Beatles face on it.
Oh man!
And I think it was just a sample because I've never seen one. The other guys that I sort of compete with, or I'm friends with them now. Sure. It's friendly competition, but they don't have one. I've seen somebody recently sent me a picture of somebody holding one, but I've heard that it was from the relatives of the company that owned the place in Norfolk. Yeah.
Well, you have competition with all the Beatle fans who are Beatles
absolutely.
collectors.
Yeah, and I've seen when I first saw it. Before I saw a picture, there's a Beatles book that talks about all the Beatles memorabilia, and it's in that book too.
Interesting.
That's how I knew about it, like since I started. But just
that would be the one. So I mean, if anybody ever watches this and you see the Beatles skateboard,
seriously. And the other one that was like that was there's a Willie Mays one. For the longest time, I was trying to get the one that said "Say Hey Willie Mays" on it.
I see it up there.
That was kind of the one that in the beginning it was like the Beatles and the Willie Mays, and then eventually I got the Willie Mays from a guy. And I've seen I've seen 10 of those over the years in other collections, but I've never seen a Beatles one.
So are you still actively going out to swap meets like regularly, or is it like, no, I've got my... No, I mean... At some point you got to think it gets hard to...
It's funny because I for about 25 years I went every single Sunday. Every Sunday or more. And I had like a network of people that knew I would buy stuff and hold stuff for me. And then I took maybe 5 years off. And then just recently I started going back again. And I found a couple boards like 2 Sundays ago, but it was kind of not the same. I noticed that all the stuff, they used to be called collectible swap meets, where people would have like yo-yos and bicycles and lunch pails. It was collectibles. Now I went, the last couple of times I've gone, to the one where I used to score, it was all like clothing. Like people bought stuff over COVID, like, oh, I'll get the jacket, you know, now they're like trying to dump it all on
garage
us,
sale, or
like I was really, I've gone 3 times like in the last 5 weeks.
Okay.
And of the 3 times, I found boards twice. One of them I felt like, oh, I scored. I got 2 boards for 80, which back in the day, that's double what I paid. And the other one I got 1 board for 50, which and I put it, I have it for sale basically.
Oh, nice.
So. And that's kind of what I've been doing now, because almost every board that I get is a duplicate.
Okay, so maybe you keep the better condition one, or one that
as long as it doesn't make it into my back room, I don't get attached to it. Okay. Once it's kind of in my pile, or on my, you know what I mean? I can't. I can't
I've seen your videos on Instagram or TikTok where you do the today's box number whatever.
I've done a couple of my. If you go back a little further, I did a couple at the swap meet too, right, where I kind of show you how look at all the clothes. It sucks,
okay, yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing that just because I noticed nobody else really was doing that kind of stuff. You know, I was like trying to come up with some content that was original and unique, and that other people weren't doing. You know?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, I appreciate it.
I love all the nostalgia, and you've just taken it to another level here. It's pretty crazy.
I mean,
crazy in a good way, of course.
Yeah, no, I know. This is our library. I'm afraid to sort of get too comfortable here, because they're really fair on my overhead is pretty low here, and I feel like, oh wow, they're gonna kick me out, you know, because we have a big space. But I'm going on 5 years, and every year they renew me, and so I started hanging up like these are all like I don't know, contraptions.
Yeah.
Like that's a mono wheel, that's a 6-wheel, that's a drop down, that's a snow skate, 6-wheel, moto board, skate wings from Australia. The blue one's a BMW made from the car company BMW.
Wow,
and the last one's a knee board from a guy that couldn't stand, so he made this knee board in the 70s. Wow. And then I put all my extra scooters on this one, because each time they like keep me around, I get a little bit more comfortable. And everything's kind of gone, but most of my decks, like all those decks, when I moved from my other location to here, I just threw them all in a box and just stuck them to the side.
Sure, yeah.
And so I've been afraid to unpack and get too
because you don't want to do that and then have to redo and put them all away.
I'm getting ready to renegotiate this coming year. So if they give me the same deal, then maybe I'll start bringing some of them out. But
nice.
That's kind of what the decks are all about.
And then you have a huge library here of just
the library. It's what's cool about it is you can actually come and look at it. Like you don't have to, it's not behind glass. Or if you wanted to see like Transworld #1, like I always wonder about the first Transworld, and you can like pull it out, you know, like and for whatever it's worth, that's Steve Caballero on the cover. It's from 1983. It's a little faded. Like I probably have a better one somewhere, but my other location, awesome. You couldn't access this. I had it in boxes, and also I have all these books. And the thing about it is it's part of a huge network called the Lookback Library. And there's a guy that travels the whole country. I'm his second one. He's actually from San Diego, and his whole house is all magazines. He's got like a 3-bedroom house full of magazines. But he came here and he took all my doubles, and then he figured out what I was missing. And then he went to the next library. He took all their doubles. He said, and if any of my doubles fit into theirs, and he did it. He probably has 100 libraries throughout the whole country now.
So, but he kind of evens all the doubles out.
It's insane. And like, he hasn't been here. He comes here about 3 times a year. But since he's been here, I've probably got about 100 mags that people have donated.
That's really cool.
When he gets here, I'll go, here's the donation mags. And if I don't need any of them, he takes all of them. Because some people, he shows a picture of his new library, and it might be one guy that has this much stuff. And so almost anything he takes that I have extra will go to somebody.
Yeah, that is. I love how you guys kind of network and
this guy's good at it, and he lives in like one of the Sprinter vans when he travels.
Okay,
he's a really cool dude.
Live in the van. I have a question.
Yes.
The snow ski thing is obviously interesting.
It is.
But so I remember ACS from the BMX.
Yeah, it was American Cycle Systems.
Yeah, did they? So then I found a folder of old stuff from the 80s that I'd acquired, and there was a Vision. I forget what their distribution, but it was like 6-page of flyer of prices and stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And there were ACS trucks, and I was wondering if it's the same
company. Yeah, these are them right here.
Because I don't remember ACS trucks back in the day, and I was like, is that the
500? This is a 651. They were decent trucks. As a matter of fact, Bennett's, which were like the crappier ones, like these, they had a plastic base plate. They'd always break, so people would take the ACS base plate, like this one, and use them on the Bennett truck.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so yeah, ACS, and they actually were around for a long time. Here's another ACS, different one called this. This is called the 650. Here's another 580.
Okay, so they were just before my time then. I guess they were at the tail end.
There's the gold-plated ones. We always looked at them as a little bit crappier, though.
Okay, yeah.
Like the Trackers or the Independents were the ones that everyone rode.
One other that I remember in the magazines that I never saw, they were Z-Roller. Do you got any of those?
Yeah, I have some Z-Roller, but they're on loan to I'm doing a display at a museum in London. They just left.
Okay.
So I have some, and they're amazing.
And then for me, the weirdest trucks were those G&S. Maybe they were aluminum and
I have
plastic,
some of those too. Yeah,
they had a bad rap from everybody. Say that I never bent mine.
They always would break, and they had hollow kingpins. I
had hot pink ones. I remember.
I think I also just sent them out too. But there's
this is what brings the feels back to me looking at all these, because this is what my friends had or in the magazines. I had the Gull Wing trucks too, and the
Gull Wing,
the Trackers.
Yeah, there's some that had the plastic base plates.
I was going through that.
The GNS ones are gone. I do have some somewhere.
I was going through that flyer I was mentioning, a stack of flyers, and I think it said 1986, and it was a tracker truck survey. And it had like all the, where do you skate? What do you? And there's like a section where it's like pool, bowl, slalom, and there's a box for other, but there was no street anywhere. It was before.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And I was thinking about taking that. It's like the larger 14-inch. Half by 4. Anyway, like filling it out and sending it. Sorry, I took so long to get this back to you, but
probably the same address. The guy that founded Tracker, Larry Bama and Lance Smith, they were just here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had that Tony Hawk there too.
Yeah, that's a real mild one. It's really low key on the graphics.
And they had the Mike Vallely.
Fiberlight, these are weird ones.
I had.
This is a Mike V. It's kind of messed up, but
I had forgot. I had it was a Rob Roscop, and it was like fiberglass. Does that ring a bell?
They made a couple like that.
Because the tail with no tailbone, it wore away, and then there was like foam inside. Yeah.
They had one called the Blacklight series, and they had the one called Foam Core. It's probably one of those.
Yeah.
Like that's their version of it called the Fiberlight. It's like
so that's a
GNS Billy Ruff. It's like a hollow light or something. It has a rubber bumper around the whole thing's like a black rubber bumper.
Yeah, to keep it from chipping.
Funny.
My first skateboard was not that one, but the Gator. My first real one. My sister had a maybe late 70s. I don't know. It was a roller derby. It was yellow.
Yeah, I know those are plastic.
Yeah, it was plastic.
I went up there somewhere.
And of course, just like all the loose bearings, and they fell out at one point.
Yeah, exactly. That's typical. And that's why a lot of the boards made it this far, because the wheels one wheel fell apart, and then nobody wanted to throw the whole board away. So
so they just put it in the corner of the garage, and then someday the dad's like, "This has got to go."
And then I ended up with it.
That's awesome.
Hopefully, best case scenario.
Yeah. Are there any standout that are your favorite, or at least for you, bring back the feels, or what you rode?
I mean, the one I had was a Fiberflex. It's red up there, and it had Bennett trucks on it. That was my first real board. Val Surf, we were kids. We didn't really know how far Woodland Hills was, but we were showing my mom what we wanted for Christmas. She's like, it's only 15 minutes. We can just go there. We're like, well, we get to go to the best store in the whole.
That's what I interrupted you. You were saying Val Surf.
They were the first shop.
They were the first shop, and they weren't they were closer to you.
They're in the valley, exactly. And once we realized we could go there, that's when it was fun for us, because. And I don't know, it might be different here, but when I was a kid, there was always a certain smell when you walked into a skate shop. I think it was maybe the urethane wheels or what it was, but we always remember going in there, and it's just like a whole experience.
The smells really just totally bring you back.
Yeah, it's true. It really is.
It's funny. I
like the Dogtowns too. They're just hard to get.
Yeah. And those are classics.
I don't know. And just the 8-wheelers are cool. They're pretty unique. It took me 30 years to get the 8-wheeler.
Wow.
And they're really hard to get. And I had to trade away 2 pretty good boards to get it.
I can't imagine them, because I've seen photos of them actually in the pools hitting the coping and everything.
There's a photo right here of a guy on the other side.
Where?
right there. For Lonnie Toft.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was at Skater Cross. That was also in the valley. That was really close by. It was one of our local parks where we'd go to. And it only lasted 10 years. They filmed Chips there. If you ever see the episode of Chips, it was filmed.
I have seen that episode. I remember that.
Local skate park.
Huh. It had like it was. I wouldn't say like roads going over it, or did it have like?
No, it was like it was an A&W root beer. So
okay,
it was like
like the car hop stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember that, and there was one with Wonder Woman where she had the skating down the hill.
Stacy Peralta played her double.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's pretty much the wall. Just go from his roller skates all the way to the 80s. The back wall is if somebody that gets inducted that gives me a board, like Greg Ayers gave me that killer one, his tunnel board with the red thing on it, or Paul Schmidt gave me that Trampula.
So these are all boards that were donated by inductees.
Yeah, and like Billy Ruff signed signed it up there.
Wow, yeah.
Chris Stropel gave me the red one. That's why there's not that many, because a lot of people either don't have them or don't want to give them up.
Yeah.
Like Lance Mountain, and I love him. He's a really cool guy. He's like, I'm not giving it to you.
Yeah.
Like he didn't want to give it, and I couldn't say anything. What am I going to do? It's just I didn't want it if he doesn't want to give it up.
Well, maybe one day he decide time to. We're in Missouri, and Walt Disney spent a good part of his childhood in Missouri, and there's a museum there. Now some of the Disneyland employees are starting. Now they're like old, getting old.
Yeah.
Some of them are obviously way old and passed away, but they're donating some of their artifacts to that museum because they held on to them all their life. But then it's like, I'd rather them go somewhere where they'll be.
I've gotten a few donations like that recently too. A guy, that Dogtown board right on the shelf, the middle one. Guy came in here and he's like, hey, I think I might be going to the skate park in the sky.
Oh.
I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, I had two heart attacks recently, and the money that I would get for this board wouldn't help me right now, so I'd rather stay here on the thing. And it kind of was sad, because like, dude, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, let's hang it up right now. Like, I just wanted to hang it up while he was here.
So he could,
Yeah, dude, there it is. And so...
I bet you that gave him joy, though.
I hope so. I mean, like, and one thing about me as a collector for a long time, I'm kind of known as that guy that, like, you're not going to give it to me and then see it on eBay tomorrow. I've always been known as like the guy who just kept everything, which is why the collectors that eventually sold me their old boards sold them to me, because they knew that I wasn't just trying to flip them.
Yeah,
and people do that. They do, and I do it too now. Like I've said. I had a guy, and I bought like 15 old boards off him out of the back of his car, and they were all common but cool old boards. And I was like, I'm going to buy these. If I pay 50, I'm going to sell them for like $80 in my shop.
Well, then for people like me, maybe visiting or whatever can't get to all the swap meets, because you're not going to find any of that in St. Louis where we live, right? So,
where I got the idea was I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And at the end of the tour, there was a gift shop, but in the gift shop, there's a big glass shelf. And it was big, it was like 30 feet by 10 feet. And it was full of memorabilia that you could buy. Couldn't believe it. And one of the things I also like Vespa scooters. There's these lobby cards from this movie called Quadrophenia, which was like the Who's mod scooter movie.
Okay.
And it was like 8 lobby cards, and it was $45, and it came with a certificate of authenticity from the. And then I said, man, if I ever get a real museum with a gift shop, I'm going to sell vintage stuff in there, because it was so fun for me to come home with a souvenir that I got from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that was real. Like, it was cool, and it was cheap. It wasn't like crazy money. And they had like Beatles lunch pail in there. It was $1,200, but when you looked online, it was a fair price. That's what they were going for. So I don't know. That's kind of where the idea came from, to sell vintage stuff.
Well, you've done amazing here. This is really cool. Anybody who's into skateboarding needs to come here at least once in their life and check it out.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll stay here for a long time. But I do sort of have a goal to be in a place where there's more tourism and more people, and like I almost opened up a museum in downtown LA in 2019. I had a building and everything, and then when COVID came, the landlord just changed his mind. I've been really close a couple times. I was talking to a guy in Las Vegas, which most of the skaters just hate the idea of it being in Las Vegas, but I love it because that's where the most unique people will see it, and it's a quirky museum which fits in with Vegas, and that fell through too. I found that a lot of people just talk a lot, you know, like I can dream. Like I have a really good friend, and she always tells me it should be this, it should be that, and finally I was like, my dreams are way bigger than yours. Like it's so easy to talk about what it should be, and I get frustrated because, like this, I can imagine so much, but if you don't have the wherewithal to help me, don't tell me your imagination. You know, that's what I tell people. Like this guy,
don't get my hopes up.
The guy on the board of directors was criticizing it, and he's like, it needs to be in a beach town. And I said, all you have to do is give me the key and the address, and like a week, and I'll be there. And I've lived here for over 50 years, and I'm willing to relocate because, as much as it's awesome and I can afford it and I love it, it deserves to be in a place where more people can access it. And if not, it's okay. Like John Lucero was just here, and I really look up to him because he knows a lot about the history.
Yeah.
And I was kind of apologizing. Hey, you know, I had this dream to move someday, kind of with this thing what I just told you guys. He's like, no, why? You don't have to. He's like, I'm here. I'll come. If they want to come, if they want to see it, they have to come. It's good enough. Like you're okay. You don't have to move. Don't make that your goal.
People like us who aren't in Southern California.
Yeah, big
well, I'm willing to drive an extra hour and a half to come here. Whether if you had it in Venice or what, I'd still,
It wasn't that far. I mean, trust me, it's way easier to drive around here than it is down in Venice in terms of the traffic and the parking.
No doubt.
And we got a lot of space. I guarantee a place like this in Venice would be 60 grand a month probably.
Wow. Yeah.
And we didn't even make 60 grand in the whole year. You know, so the place we need has to be donated.
Yeah.
And we really need a place that can be forever. Like. Just like you saw that I haven't even unpacked because, you know, I don't want to unpack and have to repack and unpack. And I want to go a place where I can unpack and like
set it up.
Yeah. And like be done with it. Here it is. And then it can, I went to the Vespa Museum, for example, in Italy. And 2/3 of the museum is always there. Their archives, their history, where it started, all the models. But the last third is a rotating thing. When I went there, it was Vespa and food. Like driving your Vespa to have a picnic, and all the magazines they'd been in with ads and stuff. And then same with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's like all these floors, but the very top floor, I've been there several times. Like one time it was Bob Dylan, one time it was Bruce Springsteen, and one time it was Peter Townsend. Like, and it stays for like 6 months. And I have a dream to be able to do that. Like, the thing I don't like about the museum is you come here, it's just a bunch of stuff. And I think I just have a lot of room to improve. And it really, the only thing that holds me back, like I said, my dreams are good. I got that in control. It's just money. It just really takes money. And like, it's pretty hard to like make a living off having a museum. Even if it's a nonprofit, we don't really, you know, have that much support in terms of financial support. And for me, I'm not really good at asking for help, but I always feels like I'm like begging, so to speak, you know? And even though it's like, it's only for good things, it's only for the museum, it's not like I'm going to get like a new car or something, it's still hard for me to do that. And because everything in here I've had to buy and like negotiate for it. And like, I'm sort of known as that hustler guy just because of that. And like, it feels weird when I'm asking you for money, you know? Like, and it's probably just in my imagination because some people do want to help.
I think, people do want to help.
There's one family, the Midler family, and their son, his name's Alex Midler, and he's a current pro. He we do lessons here, and he kind of went through our lesson program for a few years, you know, maybe 15 years ago.
Okay.
And they've always been behind us because of that. And they bought the ramp. Like they gave us a check, and it was like $7,500 just so we could teach lessons here. So there are some people that are totally cool and behind us, but it's not really enough for me to get paid. Like I've been a volunteer. I've never gotten paid. I rely on people buying stuff in the store to get paid. And like, it's pretty slow right now. So that's my dream, is just to be able to turn it up a notch and, I don't know, maybe be in a place where there's more people that would be into it, you know? But I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word. I feel pretty proud.
You should be proud, for sure. Yeah,
it's hard.
Absolutely, should feel proud.
Hard. Sometimes just since I work here, it's hard. You get sort of used to it, or whatever. But like my mom will come in and go, "Oh my God, I forgot how great this place was." And it's hard, and sometimes you kind of need that, like to like make you
feedback,
agree,
encouragement and recognition.
Like today when I came in, that thing was down. I'm still sitting here just going, "Dang, that looks crappy," you know? Like, what am I gonna do now? Anyway, it's hard. It's hard.
We went to the Powell Peralta skate shop this morning, and he was telling me, I see it there.
Oh yeah, the chin board.
They sent you guys the.
I'm so glad he mentioned that, because I don't know if they talk about us or not. But for a long time, this whole wall was a tribute to Powell Peralta, because they're so cool to us. Like George Powell gave us that, and like we didn't even ask. He just like
was like,
like it's got to go to the Hall of Fame. We're like, God, George, I love you. You know?
Yeah, like, I mean, this is for 80s kids at least, and I'm sure, but this is like history, right? This is like,
pictures. People come here to get pictures in front of it.
I definitely need to get a picture in front of this before we leave.
Yeah, and if you watch the clip, like Tony Hawk goes up to it and he's like, oh wow, it looks like a skate god must have skated this. And like, they're like going crazy over it, and then Lance Mountain blows it off and it says Guadalupe, it's to the south. I think it's to the south. And they look to the south, and then they see the animal chin ramp. All because of this. Then there's an artist named Tim who drew these pencil drawings. These are the original pencil drawings.
Okay, wow.
And one of them, he depicted what animal chin would look like sitting in front of. Yeah, it's cool.
That is really cool.
And I had these. I've had these for about 15 years. And I just got this like a year ago. And it just matched up. So this whole wall wasn't tribute to Powell Peralta. Okay. And this is Lance Mountain art. This is all original Lance art. Yeah. But then it goes into Shepard Fairey and then Bill Barminski and a few other artists, because it's kind of a temporary show that we're doing right now.
Okay.
And that's why there's some leftover Powell stuff, like the Bones and some of the stuff up there.
Yeah.
But they're from Santa Barbara, which is kind of always, since I've grown up here, they've always kind of been like our local heroes. 805, see, it's just like they're our local company.
Were so I mean, I don't know who the guy at the shop, apparently he's been there forever, but he was so friendly. Oh yeah, they're telling us stories. And
yeah, they're cool. And the only reason they don't have this in there is because they don't have enough room, or they would just put it.
He said that when they left, or the factory or whatever, they moved to Ventura from. Yeah. And they were like, we gotta do something with it.
And it was in a crate. Like, it wasn't just thrown on the ground. It was like in a wooden crate, suspended by carpet. Like, it was like hanging free. And it was already in that condition. So Powell used to have a skate park too called the Skate Zone, and it was in there. And that's when it got, people used to pick pieces off it.
Because they were like, I want a piece of history.
Yeah, and all this denting is from skateboards hitting it.
Oh wow! And
then eventually they put it on this thing.
So they wouldn't, you know.
And then they put it in storage, and I don't know how it got so weathered.
Yeah. But I imagine there was this, like, and then there was a coating on top of it. It had like this, you can still see some of the coating was. Yeah.
And the cool part was, it was made by VCJ, and VCJ is the guy that did all the
graphics. Yeah.
And I guess at that time he was really into these wire sculptures. And that's what I think is so cool about it, that he actually made the board.
I think it's cool to see how they've all kind of got their momentum back, and he's doing the graphics for Andy Anderson and some of the newer guys. Yeah, he's still around.
I just saw him at an event. Juice Magazine did an event, and he was like the guy they were hanging out with.
And then the Hosoi, the Rockets.
Yeah, that's cool.
Was that one of his, or is it just a?
He had a team of like 10 guys, and he when you got on the team, you got the jacket.
Okay.
And that was actually from a guy, Mark Partain, and he worked for me for a couple summers teaching my summer camp. And then when I bought that from him, and I love him, he's a great guy, but they always, when you hand them the money, they always say, and I'm gonna get that, this is just temporary.
It's like a pawn shop.
Yeah. Like, and that was many, many years ago. But I was like, dude, no, you're not getting it back. And at the time, though, I didn't say that. I was like, okay, it's here. Yeah. But I haven't talked to him since. That's happened a few times.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
And I hope you get some. I think you got some good stuff.
For sure.
There's a lot for your brain when you come in here.
Yeah. Well, definitely when you're talking about editing, there will be a little bit of
sorry,
like,
I talked too much.
No, I'll probably make a couple of
there you go, part one.
Yeah, exactly.
There's newer boards in here on this back wall from 97 to 2018. I had a skate park. Okay. And so when pros would come, I had them sign the boards in there. I was working on this NFT collection.
I gotcha.
Of digitizing the boards. And if you're welcome to check those out as well.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't want to leave you hanging. Are you good? You have any questions? You got the side tour. You get these.
I've been eavesdropping.
No, good. I'm glad. Perfect. It's perfect. Like.
Not that there's a whole lot of other sound.
No, there's no one here, and it's good and bad.
But there's some more. Just worked through all this the whole time.
In here, these are more modern boards that I might as well show you since you came all the way. They're.
Oh wow! It goes on.
Well, these are modern boards. So I had this skate park, and whenever a pro would come, it started from 1997 till it closed in 2019. A pro would come, like this is from 99, there's Tony Hawk, from 99.
Oh, Skate Lab.
That was the name of it.
I'm familiar with Skate Lab.
Yeah, so that was my skate park. Here's one from Dr. Dre, like his kid was having a birthday. And we're like, and he was sitting out in the parking lot, and we had to like go knock on the window and get him to sign that through the window. And
wow,
a lot of them are from, I mean, this sort of sounds weird, but I like the ones that are from people that are passed away. The second one, Tim Broch, he died just a couple months after signing that one in 1998. Wow. And then if you go over 3 more, John Comer, he was an amazing skater, only had 1 leg.
I remember him.
He was great.
He's
passed
from Texas.
Away? He passed away in 2020. Wow. Then this guy right here, Keenan Milton, he was a guy, he drowned in a pool.
Oh no.
Just a couple days after signing this one. This was Keith Huffnagel. He died of cancer just about 2 years ago. He started the brand Huff. Jake Pisecki, he's dead. I don't know how he died, but he's dead. We have one up there from Lisa Marie Presley, the red one. I know she recently died.
Yeah, wow.
And then these are boards that are skated by the pros. So a lot of times they would come and set up a new board.
Like, and just leave their...
Yeah, like this is Brian Anderson. He was Skater of the Year, and he used to ride for Toy Machine, and he drew little art on here. And this is Tony Trujillo, Chad Knight, Stacy Lowry. They're all signed.
So I quit skating
skater.
In college, and then I don't know, around 2000, I would skate for a couple of years and then quit, and then
that's normal, right?
Yeah, but when I got back into it, TNT, he was
really good.
He was the guy.
He's a really powerful skater. Yeah. So these are all. Here's one from Nodis.
I remember.
This is a kid, Tori Pudwell. This was his first skateboard ever.
Oh wow, yeah.
From 1998. Sometimes they'd leave the wheels behind too. I would just grab those at the same time. And then I'll just give you a quick peek, just since I'm by myself. Like this is where I do all my unboxings and stuff. And if you can come check it out too if you want. I've only got a couple minutes just because I'm solo. But back here is like the stuff I was saying I haven't unpacked yet. So
got your Josh Brolin there.
Yeah, exactly. So my deck. So
holy cow! You have a.
These are all. I was telling you the mags that people have dropped off since the guy was here last. He'll come get those. These are most of my deck collection.
Dang.
My doubles here, my bicycles. Back in the tubs are all like memorabilia, clothing, stuff like that. 720 game, which actually works awesome.
Oh yeah, I remember that game. Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a couple projects. Like all this stuff on the cart just came back from a museum in Irvine. They had like 100 of my pieces, and it's really hard when you loan something to someone and it comes back. Now I have to go through that whole thing and
figure out where to catalog it. Yeah,
it's hard. And normally this room isn't messy, but like a guy recently gave me a bunch of stuff, so I'm trying to sort it out. Like I noticed in the box, I was like, dude, he's got like all these little wheels. I gotta keep them.
48 millimeters or something.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy just gave me a box and all these are in there. So I was like, I'm gonna put them all together on one thing. You know?
Wow. Yeah.
And this was a board I got from a guy named Harvey Hawks, who rode for George Powell. And I actually handed this board to George Powell, and I saw him get like he freaked out. And he was like, where did you get this?
Quicksilver,
he's like, we only had, this was a special one. He said, we only made 2 of them. And the other one, he said he donated to the Smithsonian.
So this is before Stacy Peralta.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just Powell.
Yeah.
And I got it from a guy named Harvey Hawks. And when I told George, it made sense. There's a guy named Harvey Hawks that rode for him who was in prison. And when he was in prison,
I remember reading his story a little bit a few years back when he got out.
All the boards on my top shelf were his personal boards. When he was in prison, his family sold them to me. And then he got out.
We were talking about Back to the Future earlier. You got the hoverboard.
Somebody gave me that. It was on display, so it's all dusty. So, and like these are the boards I've been unboxing. They were on the shelf here. And other collectors were like, dude, what are you doing? They weren't in bags. So I've been trying to
get
so these are all ones that I haven't unboxed yet, and they're all from the 70s, and they're not in bags. I undid one of them right there, but I haven't.
Dang.
These are like Hall of Fame boards that we made. I can see these are like Sims Pure Juices, I think, like longboards. Yeah, some of these boards are really nice, but I just haven't had a chance to deal with everything properly. A lot of them are autographed. Anytime somebody would come that I thought was cool or whatever, I'd get them to do autographs.
I see one full of autographs there.
Yeah, that was from the Old School Skate Jam, which was a party that we threw. I see Tony Alva.
We went to, my son actually won on Instagram tickets from Eddie Elguera
Rad.
For one of his, what would they call it?
Elgato
Elgato Classic. And so we went out there and we got to meet and see them, all the decks full of autographs they were doing for everybody.
Somebody just donated one of those for us to auction off.
Nice.
I always show these because they're from the Soviet Union. They're really unique.
Yeah.
And the wheels usually didn't survive. Like this is a really rare one where the wheels were survived. But they made a bunch. This is another one. This is another one too. That's why they're here. I was just showing somebody else. This one's like made out of like almost like Bakelite.
Oh,
had
yeah.
a skin. See on the wheels.
It looks like it would be aluminum, but
it's plastic.
Huh.
And it had adjustable trucks, had a skid plate on the back. It was actually a pretty unique design. But I have that whole top shelf on the left. Those are all boards from the Soviet Union. Wow. There's a museum in Minsk, in Belarus, and I trade with the guy. He'll come here and I'll pluck out like 3 or 4, and then he'll bring me like 3 or 4. He's done it like 3 times, so I've gotten over the years about 15. As you notice, almost all the wheels are missing on a lot of those.
So outside it says the Skateboarding Hall of Fame Museum.
Yeah.
On the, what do you call it, kiosk, it says International Skateboarding Hall of Fame.
So our nonprofit's called International Skateboarding.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. It's a lot harder to find on that, the way they did it.
But yeah, you put in the international with those.
Yeah, well, those we also have boards. There's boards from Australia and Spain. There's a bunch of international boards.
Wow.
I better just go back towards the front just because I'm.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing us back.
Yeah, this is like cool. not normally open to the public, but so yeah, no worries. Since you guys are here and care about the museum, kind of once in a while throw it.
Is this I hate to keep you, but is that a mold?
This is the mold that made these Z-Flex boards. This is Jimmy Plumer. He passed away about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
And I had the mold that they used to make the board in the 70s. And it changed hands a few times. And these are other examples that with other owners of the mold that made from it.
Okay.
And I ended up with them. Eventually, I bought it from Jimmy himself.
Huh.
And as soon as I gave him the money, I bought it for $1,500. As soon as I gave him the money, he goes, "Now don't tell anybody." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm a museum. I just gave you $1,500." And once he passed away, I just did a video about it. And I've been telling people anyway. There's somebody out there.
That is so cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Devo hat.
Someone just donated this. It lights on fire and it recreates.
Oh, I saw you do
picture.
That on one of your TikToks.
Yeah, the guy. I don't know anything about the guy except for his name was Steve. He was homeless, and all this stuff he collected off the side of the freeway.
Wow.
All these signs, all this. He said this metal was from a restaurant door they were throwing away, and he did this all when he was homeless.
That's crazy.
And then he brought it here one day, and then I was like, "You're not homeless anymore?" He goes, "No, dude, I'm not. I'm doing really good now." I was like, "Okay."
Well, that's a great. I love it when it's a happy ending like that. You know, he's okay.
He put $100 on a donation jar, and I was
sweet.
like, "Dude, how are you going from homeless to like?"
I've got a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
People who want to come or want to support or follow you on social media. Where are you at? How can they find you?
I mean, all in one, you can go to skateboardinghalloffame.org, our website. On there, you can get all the links to the social media, and they're all Skateboarding Hall of Fame or Skate Hall of Fame with an 8. All the donations are tax deductible because we're a nonprofit, and you get a receipt that you can use as a tax write-off. And yeah, we're on like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I always tell people to go to the website because the website, not only can you connect to everything else we do, but it has information about every single inductee. And
cool.
videos.
Because it's not only about the memorabilia, it's about the people.
It's the people. And a lot of times, like, I forget it myself. And so that's why it's the Skateboarding Hall of Fame and museum. And for me, first, it's the people. And same with just like the conversations and keeping the people in the Hall of Fame. If they think it's lame, then it's lame.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine anyone thinking.
Hey, I've argued with a lot of people in the Hall of Fame because we may have just disagreed.
Well, then they can step up and join your team.
Then they did, actually. That's how our first board of directors formed.
That is so cool.
You guys good? Oh, sorry. Oh, you need to take that? Cool, thank you. Sorry, I'm just giving an interview for this guy here.
It's been recording the whole time, so wow.
Okay,
Very
$6.44,
cool.
please.
Get some B-rolls up on the
fun.
Yeah, definitely.
He getting some close-ups of ones that he was pointing out, like foot. And at some point he was talking about the one that was like one single
Some of that I got while he was talking.
Do you want to Todd? Yes. So you said that you could do the tax deduction or whatever, and maybe check with you before we do.
I think just.
You wouldn't have come out here if you weren't excited about experience. Yeah, it's a little bit picked up on that.
I think he's wrong. I've been to, that's why I came in. I came in and that thing was on the ground. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But I guess there's techniques you can do to get all that balance. Before you spend like 600 bucks. And then, yeah, I guess there's some shops that are shadier than others. It seems like, yeah, we can't believe it. It's a 9/11 where this is great.
He's not doing it now, but you're back in that era. He would fly over and he would be able to get you down the parts.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't know how that applies.
It's hard because I posted up on this forum seeing other ideas, and like 20.
It's got a 66 Ford Mustang convertible that he's got had it restored maybe 15 years ago. Yeah.
This last one.
Yeah, it was getting hard to
Yeah, I'm afraid to come on.
Cons of this pool, is that the cons or is this?
He played, oh man, what was it called? The Freddie Prince. Freddie Prince was like a Mexican guy. I don't know his name, his last name was good. And then he's like, okay, it's on the side of my house.
Yeah.
And then I put it in my other location, I put it in my outside of the bar where I changed. I didn't know what I was going to do. It's like, my gardener. Oh, dude, what's going on? Oh, I took to the recycle. I used it to paint it, and I regret painting it. But in my old location, it was narrow. It was like this narrow place. And we were like up and down there.
Okay, so I can help people.
Yeah, like this is just a slide in the sky.
Yeah.
And now that it's here, I'm like, dang. I was thinking this out.
In the Midwest, it's not. People on my realize that went away is kind of all this. At least, yeah, because there was
And then the newspaper, the local newspaper did an article. We were in town since 1997. The newspaper did an article going on.